just, I'm going to remove this for the moment and just have us. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, Joe. Great to be with you again today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
I am excited about what we're going to bring to people today, and I can't wait to hear your presentation because you and I have the same passion for helping business owners to build their business in such a way that they have options, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's so needed. It's so needed. So just
that's exactly it. And in my world, what I'm going to be doing here is talking about those who might have felt this feeling of, I don't think this thing will work without me. And what happens if I would disappear? What will happen to this business?
Exactly.
Yeah.
We spend our lives building our baby. These businesses are our baby, right?
Yeah.
We spend our lives building them only to find out, oh my gosh, it doesn't have the value I thought it had. And that's so devastating.
It is because to have value, to have it work, you really need two parts. And the first part is actually what Regina is going to cover in the second, as I'm saying this analogy backwards. The first part is you got to have revenue. You got to have profitability. So if you don't have net profit, it's not really a thing. And the other part is to have a business that's going to survive. It has to be able to work without you. Because no one's going to want to inherit your job. They will inherit a business that'll keep paying them, but they're not going to inherit your job. And that's going to be the part that I'm going to lead off this presentation with here.
Excellent. So we're going to get there in just a moment. I can't wait to hear what you've got to offer.
And regardless of, on that note, regardless of which platform you are watching us on now, as we are on a ton of them streaming,
right?
Send your questions in. If there's any point where I either am going too deep or too shallow, let me know. I will dive in to make this specific for you. That is one of the things that I do. Challenge of not being in front of you on stage. I just can't point at you and have an individual in the audience do that. So I'm going to rely upon you to type it in. And like I said, it'll make the experience better for everyone involved.
Excellent. I agree completely. And folks, if you're here listening, let us know you're here. Tell us where you're at. And also, what's the single biggest problem that you would like to solve today, or get insight into how to solve today as we go through this. So, Joe, I'm going to just say a couple of things about Joe, and then I'm going to turn this over to him. But Joe is a seasoned, catch that word, seasoned financial advisor. And he's going to share invaluable insights on the two main categories within the subset of selling your business. His expertise lies in helping business owners align their goals and streamline their operations to maximize profitability and desirability, a key ingredient in ultimately selling your business profitably. So, Joe, take it away.
Absolutely. So let me just begin with a question. Have you ever left yourself asking, what would happen if I wasn't here? When's the last time I was able to take a vacation and truly relax and not worry about the business? For a lot of business owners, the real truth is you can't. You can't walk away from the business and have it live on and be successful. And there's lots of reasons for this. You know, things grow and shift, but the most common issue is my people don't really know what to do and or are not incentivized to do what is needed to make the clients and customers happy. And when we look at how to solve the problem to make my business work without me, it all starts with what is the relationship that our business has with our employees. Because if you get the employees able, empowered, and capable of being able to handle any problem, then you don't need to be there. That is the end solution. And as I mentioned before, the only ability that you have to sell your business or to have it live on is you have to be out of it. Think about it. Who is going to take your 40 plus an hour a week job? It doesn't matter how much it pays. The first thing an acquisition company looks at is how much do we need to put in for this thing to be functioning? And then they assign dollars to how much that equation will cost. Now we're in the world of assumptions, and anytime you're trying to sell something and assumptions are placed against you, they end up hurting the viability of that sale. That's the nature of the beast. So getting your business to operate without you is essential for everyone involved. First, your own sanity, being able to know I can relax, I can calm, I don't have to worry about my email blowing up. Second, for your employees, they're going to stay employed after you either pass away or retire from the business, because there's nothing more devastating than choosing retirement at the expense of every family you have been taking care of your entire life that this business has been open. And then not to mention, all your clients continue to get served and taken care of, which is why most of us started our businesses in the first place. So to answer this question, it starts with a really basic system. What do our clients actually want from us? We exist to serve some form of clients. How do we go about that? So I think back to one of my earlier clients that we began to taught this with. They really had no idea why people bought from them. It's still to this day mystifying to me. They were a store, a grocery store, so everyone needs groceries. But why were they the ones getting chosen? And talking to the ownership, it was, they're close, I guess. But when we dove into it, people actually were driving around from quite a distance, passing other grocery stores to come to this one. And they couldn't figure out why people wanted them. They'd spent all of this time and energy into making it so that it would be bright, so that it would be absolutely stunning when you walked in there. But when we talked to the clients, it had nothing to do with the appearance. Sure, there's some base requirements. You have to have the degree of cleanliness to be able to have your produce look good. But that was really the answer. They served the type of foods that the audience wanted, that the customer base wanted, that the other stores around them didn't. And you look at this and go, okay, that's very rudimentary. But it's amazing how often people don't truly understand what their clients are expecting from them. Because what ends up happening is, because we don't interact with our clients, or we're not able to have a relationship with them, we start guessing. And as we guess about what our clients want or need, there's a very real possibility we're going to be wrong. And putting resources into an element of your business that is not built for what your clients want ends up hurting your business, both in terms of the personnel, the money, and the time spent on it. And that is absolutely critical, because what we're going to do is we're going to hold this extra weight all around us and not be able to grow. One of the prime examples for every business is the things that we have to do, but they have nothing to do with the revenue. Things like payroll, IT security. Sure, they're important, but unless you're going to read the entire rule book of the tax code, you're better off outsourcing to someone who was and having that personnel do a better job that's inside the space of revenue. So step one, as I told you, I'm going to tell you step by step how to do this. Step one, figure out what our clients actually want. Step two, now we need to create positions that are in line with what the clients want. So now that we know what A, B, C, D, and E is, what is the measurable things within A? What are the measurable things within B, C, etc.? And when we figure this out, it then becomes the best solution to an unknown problem that people just write off. The majority of us out there live in this state. Everyone else just does really big and broad job descriptions. So we're going to, because I have to compete in the labor market. I have to be able to get the right people here. And if I'm wildly different, I could get in trouble. I could get sued. Everyone knows there's all these lawsuits out there. I don't want that. Well, if I keep doing the same thing as everyone else, I don't have anything to differentiate myself. So ultimately, the only way I can compete to get those great employees is I have to pay them more. I don't know about you, but that's not really a winnable battle forever. At some point, I know I have a finite amount of resources. We only have so much money we can spend because we only make so much revenue. So if the only way I get better employees is to have to pay more, I put myself wildly behind the eight ball. I'll give you an example here. One of my clients owns a hotel. And just like every other hotel, the primary product is the rooms. They have to be clean and they have to be ready when you said they're going to be. So the people that do that are the housekeeping staff. So just like every other hotel, he yelled at his staff when the rooms weren't clean enough and he paid a minimum wage. That was the ongoing existence, just like every other hotel in the area. Minimum wage, yelling at you when you're not doing good. And as a result, the people who are actually doing the cleaning were constantly willing to shift to any other hotel around for literally 10 cents more. It was that fluid because, again, if I'm getting a horrible system anywhere, why should I care? So I sat down, started talking to John, and I said, we're going to change this entire system of the way you're treating your employees. We're going to look at this and say, hey, from their perspective, what would make life better? And also line it up with what you want. Because at the end of the day, your task item is clean rooms done on time. What if we just altered the way that we treat them from a compensation standpoint? Because right now you're basically paying your employees based upon the amount of time that they're here. And like every other hotel, you demand that they're here at the crack of dawn so that your hotel room will be clean on time. They really don't have an incentive to clean the room efficiently or quickly, aside from getting yelled at. But they actually have an incentive to go slow about it, to not get things done quickly, and to just slowly do all of it, which is not good in any of the metrics in which you're looking at, because still you want to have the cleanliest rooms possible and you want to be able to minimize your expenses, just as any other CEO is. Well, we're going to change up that dynamic because it has a lot of repelling forces within it. And we don't want that. We want to have unity, people coming together, and the greatness of joy in that. So here's what we're going to do. An A+ room pays you this, a B this, C this, etc. All the way down. We built a schedule of payments. We built a manager system in place that would be judging them impartially based upon the quality of the room. And then we gave a hard rule. If it's not done before check-in, you don't get paid for it at all. And that's how we went about the payment system. And from a marketplace in this labor market where the employees were turning over constantly, John was always trying to scramble to try to get that next person to come in to literally replace the one he just yelled out the door. Constantly. What happened was his employees started making cleaner rooms. First, observable, cleaner rooms. Cleaner rooms meant more expensive rooms, which ultimately is a big win in this. The other part that slowly got noticed, and I'll never forget this, I was 3 time zones away when he called me up. About 10 o'clock, or correction, about 8 o'clock in the morning, his local time. He's freaking out. None of his housekeeping staff is there. This was leading into a big event that they were hosting at the hotel, and none of his staff was there. How are we going to have a clean hotel? You, by changing this, has destroyed it. This is what I'm getting yelled out on my phone at me from my client. I tell him, you know what, John? I just need you to relax a minute. We need to trust the relationship we're building between your hotel and your employees. And I guarantee you that it will work out. Again, I'm 3 time zones away, so it's not like I can just show up and do anything about this. But the reality is the problem had already been fixed, because the relationship built between the hotel and the workers was unimaginable in any other place. The reason they were coming in later was because they were beginning to trust the fact that they were going to get paid based upon the results, regardless of how long they were there. So they started working more efficiently and faster, which meant overall, they didn't have to be there as much. So the first thing that they started doing was going home sooner. Then they started coming in later. And if you look at it, nearly all of them started arriving between 9 and getting out by about 1:30, 2 o'clock. Why? Because the vast majority of the people who were doing his housekeeper had children, and they were able now to put them onto the bus. They were able to be home by the time that their kids came home. So many businesses out there talk about having family values and all this. But if you actually look at the way they're motivating and incentivizing their people, there's nothing behind it. We transformed John's hotel from being fighting over pennies on the hour and yelling at people out to changing the way that they treat all of their employees. And we did this for every position, because you can do this for every position. To now John went from scrounging through essentially Craigslist to find the next applicant, to now having the opposite problem. Too many people applying to wanting to be a part of his company. In one actual change, the relationship between the business and the employees, all of the problems that were plaguing his time. How do I get enough staff? How do I make my rooms cleaner so that way I can have a competitive advantage for my clients? How can I improve client stay? All of these problems got eroded away. They disappeared and they flipped. So now they were great assets. And the thing about this that I get asked after telling this story is, well, I'm sure that if they did an A+ room every single time, they were getting paid way more. The reality was no. They're getting paid about $40 more a week. That was it. And each room's increase in cleanliness was over $50. So do the math. That's a really big margin gain that John was able to experience. Why? Because we changed the relationship between the business. And if you really boil all of this down, how to have your business operate without you, how to have your employees want to be there, how not to have fights about when we should give someone a raise or promotion. These all are about the relationship of the business and the employees. And by the way, once you master that, it's really a lot easier to maximize the relationship between the business and the clients. Another client here. His entire focus was in reverse there. It was all about promising the clients everything. We're going to give you world-class treatment. We're going to make this absolutely the best for you. Promise the entire sun. And this was a car detailing shop. So basically, client walks in, car's dirty, needs cleanup, whatever. Promise the night and the day, regardless of whether he had the people on site who could do the cleaning, the buffing out of the scratches, the interior upholster, and regardless of whether or not he actually had the materials, the cleaning products to do that, he'd promise it all immediately. Promise, promise, promise. Try to get the highest amount of invoice, essentially, to be signed, and then turn around and basically just expect his clients to constantly pull rabbits out of their, or their employees to pull rabbits out of their hands. Well, it doesn't take very long to realize how this situation ends up. The clients eventually started realizing they were getting lied to. When I was told I was going to get every single scratch buffed out of this car, it didn't happen. I was told that the cigarette smell of this used car I just bought would disappear. I'm still smelling every time I turn my AC on. And it didn't really take that long for the clients to just stop coming. The answer was, at least the perspective answer was, fire all the employees, restart, they're the ones who caused this problem. No. What really is causing this problem is that you are valuing the relationship with the client over the value of the relationship with your employees. Most people think, why would that even be a thought? Of course you pick your employees first, or you pick your clients first. Everyone cares about the revenue first and foremost. But no, it doesn't. That business died because of those actions, plus the micromanaging and unwillingness of the owner to actually be coachable. You add this all up together, it doesn't matter truly what your business problem is. It really doesn't. I need more venture capitalism money. I need more clients. I need to be to have more time. The ultimate solution is going to be building better relationships. And as we look at the country overall, 97% of us have no idea how we even form our own personal relationships, let alone how to teach someone how to build a better relationship. I'm going to give everyone now a really great exercise and training that you can do yourself to help fix this problem. Relationships start with ourselves, the relationship we have with ourselves. And all of us have mental baggage in one capacity or another. And what eventually starts happening is they become little weights that start holding us back. But we're resilient. People are very resilient. And we're able to be strong and carry these weights with us. And oftentimes we become accustomed to them. Just used to carrying the extra weight around. We do this physically as well. So you don't realize what's there. So we don't ever spend time thinking about what's this extra stuff I'm carrying on my back that's taking up my emotional and mental well-being. This drill is designed to address those weights and to get them off of your shoulders. It starts by being able to address yourself internally. And what the ask is that you go into a sensory deprived space. Dark, quiet, neutral temperature. Someplace you will not be disturbed. And put yourself in a comfortable position. Laying or sitting is the norm. And close your eyes. And in a gentle and nurturing way, think about something in your past. And I'm not saying sprint to the scariest thing, but think about something in your past that just didn't go the way you wanted. This is where it becomes a little more challenging. I want you to take yourself out of your body and look at the two people or group of people interacting with each other. And ask yourself, based upon the relationship they have, whether that be adult-child, child-child, adult-adult, coworker, employer, employee, whatever that relationship status rules are, is this interaction correct? Is it fair and just? And just think about that and ponder it. Not casting blame, not casting anger or any other emotion, just observing. And what you will find is the more that you are able to observe your previous experiences and your previous going about what happened and what not, you will find that the next time a similar or adjacent action that comes up involving that type of relationship, you'll be a little bit better at it. Be a little bit better each time you do this. And eventually you're going to start crawling back into the bigger and scarier things, the big weights that are on your back. And as you're able to look at them and observe what they are, the actual weight will start to lessen. It'll start to become weaker, become less of a burden upon you. And you will gain emotional and a mental speed going through this. The best example for people who understand this in the physical world are those who have lost over 100 pounds. They tell you about how much great energy I have now, how much extra power, how much more fit I feel I am. And the end result is, because of this, I'm carrying less weight around. Now, the second step for those that want to get the extra credit is after you have recognized these elements of your past, these timelines of actions that didn't go the way you wanted, is then actually calling the person to talk to them about it. Now, this is a completely different drill that is a different set of criteria around it. This is not Instagram. This is not Facebook. This is not a DM. This is actually typing 10 digits into your phone and pressing the green button. FaceTime or call, either one is fine. And again, the point of the conversation is not to yell and condemn and bring out negative emotion. This is not to become the I got you back. This is not a retribution call. It's actually the opposite. It's a reconciliation call. Because what human experience has taught all of us through psychology is that the further back in the past an event is, the more our brains make us the hero. It's a natural thing. We all do it. It's just the way it is. So if you call someone up about an event that happened more than 5 years ago, you and the other person are going to fundamentally disagree on the key elements. So if you come in at a spot where you're trying to get retribution, it's never going to land, because in the other person's mind, you're just a crazy person because you're not connecting or relating to me. However, if you come in with an element of connection and trying to rekindle something, that will work. That will build into a better future and better together. And it's amazing, especially for those out there who are watching who may not have talked to someone, another adult, for a long period of time, what having a simple phone call. And I'm not saying everything's getting solved in a 1 10-minute chat. I'm not even going to try to say that. But what I will tell you is that the weight on your back, your emotional and mental flexibility drastically improves. Now, Joe, you started this whole talk by telling me, how am I going to build my business without me? Why did you just spend that time talking about how to improve my mental well-being? Because, as I said before, It's all about the relationships you have with your employees. Improving the relationship that you have with yourself opens up these pathways. The next key element that needs to be addressed when we're talking about the business relationship and the relationship with our employees is, how do we go about in making ourselves unique and special? And should we? Well, we already outlined some of the problems of not. John in his hotel is spending more money per employee because he didn't have a relationship and they're floating around like crazy. He wasn't able to sustain a workforce. The car detailer, because he wasn't putting any stock into what his employees felt, cared about, or their capabilities, lost his whole business. So how do we create a desirable situation where we can have the workforce in effect and want to be with us? That answer ultimately is, we have to look at the other benefits we provide than just the money. You know, ever since COVID, everyone found out, hey, we can really, really go into the fact that we can do work from anywhere. And a lot of businesses have that capability. Sure, that's a perk. We can go the Google direction. We can build basically a playhouse here in exchange for them spending 20 hours a day here. Okay. The point is, every single one of our businesses have resources and abilities with us that we are able to utilize and to grow with. So many of us take these for granted, that we have the option to use something outside of the norm of just payroll can be baffling. I go back to my example, John. Because he was so used to yelling at all of his employees, not only did he have a problem keeping his housekeeping staff, he had a problem keeping his basic managers in effect. And to the point where his reputation as an employer was to the floor. No one wanted to work for this guy. No, he underpays you, basically yells at you all the time, and I don't want to deal with it. That was the general consensus when he would try to post the job. But we look at the resources that we have available now in the system that we created for him. First, we have the ability that as the hotel performs better, you get compensated more. So as the general manager of this hotel, you now have an incentive to care. And yeah, I understand that on commission-based positions, it's really easy to see how the people up top can get paid more as the product grows. This is no exception. But we also looked at some other advantages that this hotel had that, quite frankly, John was not using. One of which was hotel space. What if, in addition to the salary, in actually commission, you gave the ability to live here? No commute, no having to worry about your living situation, because there are a lot of people who want to live in a hotel. What if your manager wanted that as a perk? Taking one room out of your inventory, or even a suite, which is what ultimately we did, taking that out of the inventory is not going to radically affect the income of this building. But it's going to give you a manager who wants to be here, is completely dedicated and all in constantly. It literally was his product. How many of us out there look at our product, and loving glowing light, but don't share and make it readily easily for our employees, especially our key employees? But I would argue you should do it for everyone. You know, say you're a company that makes a service. You make amazing milkshakes. How often do you literally tell your employees, make some, take them home with your families? How many more people would want to work for you if they knew they were going to be able to do that anyway? Side note, especially for something like milkshakes, how many of you think your employees are already doing that? Why don't you put it above the board and make it something that's desirable? Your profit margins aren't going to die by making one extra milkshake. But the upside of what you're going to get in terms of a bought in and dedicated workforce, that's through the roof. Again, this isn't creating new cost. This is using the resources your company is already having and excelling in them and investing in your people in a different way than just cutting bigger checks. This is an incredibly common problem that really creates the issues that Regina is going to talk about here in the second half. That's in your profit margin when your only tool is to just pay more. Yelling at and paying more is not a long-term victory for success. Pretty much prior to the Industrial Revolution, the majority of jobs were based upon the strength of your body. Then they became based upon the strength of your mind. The future of this economy is going to be the strength of your heart. Said another way, how good are you at building the relationships of your business with your employees? This is the key to life. This is also the key to great sales once you learn how to convert that as well. So I thank everyone for your time. And I do ask that all of you do the exercise of sitting down in the quiet space, figuring out what are those relationships that are constantly coming to my mind. I'm thinking about the problems, and then taking the next step of hitting those 10 buttons and making the call. So I thank all of you for your time, and make that call. Regina?
Thank you, Joe. I love that. And relationships are key to everything, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. We know we have at least one person watching us, Bob Britton, and Bob discovered the error that we found just before we went on air, that the link wasn't working. So folks, I've posted the link again I've posted the link again to be able to drive people here. But Bob, please let us know if you have any questions. If anybody else out there has any questions for Joe, we'd love to take those questions now.
Also, for those on the rebroadcast who will be watching this,
absolutely.
I mean, you can reach out to myself, obviously, through LinkedIn if that's the primary spot you're getting here. You see all of my various things around me. Elite Business Conversations being the easiest website to go through and get a hold of us. And that's, like I said, that we're here to help. We're doing this. Yeah. You can't buy anything from us here today.
That's right. We're not selling anything.
A product pitch or anything like that. This is to make a difference. And the reason I do this is because I know it'll change the world. I know that you building better relationships, both with your clients and with your employees, will change the world. We live in an economy right now where 30% of the U.S. economy is privately held baby boomer or Gen X businesses. If you guys do not fix this problem of getting your businesses to live without you, you basically are saying we're going to have a Great Depression. That's what I wake up in the morning to try to do to solve this. Yes, my business. Yes, I build it in a way where I don't need to be here. But I keep coming back because I have children. And if the depression happens, historically speaking, meaning mankind history, the major armed conflict follows. And I don't want to see my kid get drafted. So I care about your business immensely because ultimately, I care about the relationship I have with my kids, and I don't want that to get eroded. And I also know every single time relationship skills get improved, everything else has a massive multiplier effect about that. So, like I said, I hope this was meaningful. We'll answer any of your questions that you either leave in the comments and the post ones, or you can reach out to us through all of our various company sites or direct LinkedIn. I mean, most of us are already connected to each other on LinkedIn anyway. So.
Right. And we'll do our best to get this in your hands afterwards. So the folks who aren't here can watch it later. We'll do our very best to get that in folks' hands who've indicated an interest in being here today.
Mhm.
So thanks again. Joe, would you take just a moment and tell us a little bit about your book? I see your book behind you there, Casino Sales Master. Tell us a little bit about that. That's such an interesting title.
Yeah. So, long story short, I mean, you're going to see relationships as the backbone of my sales system as well. So many people, and I'm not trying to denigrate other people's systems, but they work in a very narrow range. If I get a client who's like this, I can convert them. I get a prospect who has this problem, I know is scripting and do that. And I kind of driven by scripts. That's not what I do at all. What Casino Sales Master is my system, which is all relationship based, teaching people how to build better relationships, taken to the one place on earth that you're guaranteed to fail and lose money, which is a casino floor. Everyone knows the house always wins.
Right.
Not when you do this. Every single time I've been in a casino, they've paid me to be there. Normally quite a bit. The reason is I know how to build relationships, and I know how to read people whenever they're in a bad relationship. It's why the consultancy firm works too, by the way. And when you look at it and say, hey, we're working on making better relationships, making the world better. We've created win-win situations for everyone. Now I want to pay you. That's the basis of the book. That's the basis of the sales system. And the one thing I was going through very intentionally, as now I'm recording the audiobook for it, is that I did not want it to be a dry textbook, and it is not. It certainly is not. You may or may not like my style, which is hit or miss, but it will not be dull. It is not dull. And that's part of why it took off everywhere we have released it. In America, it's going to have a delayed release because I'm releasing it simultaneously with the coaching course that will be coming out all at the same time. So boom, big package all at once. But I did do something that most authors don't, is I trial tested it in other countries, because why not? Find out the parts that are resonating, the parts that aren't, and then rewrite it. So that's what I did with it. Again, knowing that the big win, at least in my mind, is let's have it awesome in America. Because to me, it's a lot better to be successful in San Antonio and Austin, Baltimore, Boston, all that places, than it is if I messed up in Sydney, which is one of the places we tested it. Not saying anything against Sydney, but I care much more about the American market.
Nice. I would love to learn at some point learn more about how you did that, how you went about testing it in the foreign markets first at some point.
I just limited the country it was allowed to on Amazon, and then we just did our marketing in those places.
So you just still did it on Amazon, but just limited where it was going.
Mm-hmm. And now it's completely down off all of it, by the way. You can't even go buy it right now.
Until you're ready to launch again in the US.
And it's going to be coming out later, globally, but it'll be coming out.
Yeah. Awesome, sir. Very good. Mm-hmm. Well, thank you. This was very, very valuable. I hope our listeners really got a lot out of it. As we said, relationships are the key to it all.
Mm-hmm.
And again, thinking about those statistics you brought in there as we're talking here at the end of the number of businesses that are owned by baby boomers and the Gen Xers. And folks, if you don't build your business in such a way that it has a market value,
mm-hmm.
when something happens to you, whether you decide to retire or something literally happens to you, you step out in front of a bus tomorrow, we don't want that, but anything along those lines, what have you left for your family? What is that legacy that your family has if your business can't be sold, if they just have to close the doors?
That's exactly it. And not to mention the ripple effect across the economy.
Absolutely. All the way to the national level.
All of us out there who are owners with the invincibility complex, just ask yourself a basic question. When you're all stressed out and constantly worried about something, are you in better health than when you're not? The longer you stay in this stressed out state of trying to put the fires out continuously in the business, you're dramatically increasing the likelihood of your body internally breaking down and
Yeah.
then getting one of the big scary things at the end of
Right.
life, like the
Yeah.
big scary ones.
The big scary ones.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. The big scary ones, because it all has an impact on your health.
Yeah.
And
And if
so
you have a business that's working without you as a revenue machine,
yeah.
it's a lot easier to be calm and mellow knowing that my business is right. We're treating our employees right.
Yeah.
The customers love us. It's a lot easier to be calm and relaxing on a beach when that's the case versus if I don't get back tomorrow, I'm going to come back to a raging inferno fire.
Right. Right.
The way it
And
is.
so when your business is built in that way that it can run without you, you have time freedom, you have financial freedom, and you have health freedom as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
It's,
absolutely. And again, transforming businesses into this is an amazing. It's from my vantage point, I love doing it.
yeah,
Just seeing the
absolutely.
before and afters and all of
Yeah.
that.
And
You know,
being as what you described a few moments ago is what I call the ripple effect, being part of
Mhm.
that ripple effect, because it is a huge ripple. Whether
Yes,
that business succeeds or fails, it's a huge ripple.
that's absolutely right. And I know that there were a number of other consultants who wanted to come and watch this presentation here today. I invite as much competition as possible. I know that my industry right now, you can multiply us by 10,000. We can't make a dent in that 30% of the economy. You know, enter this space. Enter the space of helping businesses
Help
live
people.
on. I get it's
Absolutely.
not as sexy as startups, but it's more important.
Yeah.
You can argue it's more important. Startups are important too. I'm not trying to denigrate that, but keeping the businesses living and building your own business correctly is massively important as well.
It is. And you and I, Joe, are a perfect example of that.
Mhm.
We're both doing similar things, but we're here collaborating today. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more in my presentation. But
Mhm.
yeah, don't be afraid of the competition. Don't be afraid of others entering the market. You know, how many people are on this planet? How many businesses are in this country alone?
Yeah,
There's plenty of work to go around.
there is. Yes, there
We don't
is.
want to come from that scarcity place, right?
Well, that's exactly it. I mean, I'm currently living in the second oldest county in our country. There is, just walking outside and throwing a stone throw, I can have business forever. But we open ourselves up to be globally because this is a
Yeah.
massive problem, and we want to help anyone that can speak English. That's really kind of the only barrier to entry because I can only speak English. Um, you know, that and caring about your employees are essentially the only two
Yeah.
requirements you have to have with your business. And we
Right.
can do that. We can make awesome stuff happen.
Absolutely. Awesome. Thanks again, Joe. This is great. We're going to bring you back on after my presentation, and we'll address any questions or concerns that folks have and let them know more about how they can or where they can go with this, what next steps there are. Okay.
Beautiful. I
Sound
look
good?
forward to seeing everyone then.
Awesome. Thanks, Joe. All right. Well, my turn. I am so glad that Joe is here with us today and the value that he creates in the world. I just love what he's doing. And it was a no-brainer for me to look at partnering with him in some way. So let me tell you a little bit about me before I start into my presentation. I've been an entrepreneur my entire life. I can't remember when I wasn't, from the time I was a small or a child. I won't say a small child, but a child. And absolutely love entrepreneurship. I've had businesses that I always tell people my biggest success was also my biggest failure. I had a staffing firm, started in the late 90s, and we were doing a little under 5 million in revenue. And in 2008, those of you who were around then remember what happened. We had a financial crash in 2008, and that literally caused me to have to close my doors by March of 2009. We had no place to go with our business. All of our clients and prospects said, we're not doing anything for 6 to 9 months until we see what's happening in this economy. And so that's what I say, it was my greatest success, but also my biggest failure in terms of I had to close the doors. We had to walk away from that business. I couldn't sell it. And that drives a huge part of my passion to help other entrepreneurs, other business owners not find themselves in that situation. I too am an international best-selling author, international speaker, and have been a business coach since 2015. I'd stop and think. I started this business in January of 2015, and my specialty is really helping you accelerate your profitability and create the foundation for that business that can run without you. Because if it can't, you don't have options when it comes to exiting your business. You can't sell it. There's no market for it if it can't run without you and if it's not profitable. And you just have to close the doors. And trust me, that is not a fun place to be. So let's dive in. I do have a workbook. I'm going to put the link to this workbook. Anybody can download it. I'm going to pop that into the comments. And it is an editable PDF. Feel free to download that workbook. And I just want to show you one page of the workbook at the moment here. So let me bring up my PowerPoint. So at the end of every section in the workbook, you have this area to rate your current situation in terms of whatever the topic is. And we're going to talk about 7 different topics. I'll share those with you in just a moment. But you want to look at each one and say, how relevant is this to my business? And what's my level of proficiency on it? And then what are my action steps that I can take from based on what you're learning right now? Because I want this to be something that you can apply in some of it immediately. Now, obviously, I can't teach you everything in the next 45 minutes about all of this, but we want to at least give you those actionable steps and ways to look at your business that you might not have thought about before. All right, so we're going to take that out. And moving forward, oops. There we go. So I mentioned that there are 7 areas that we're going to talk about. And they are setting goals, which leads to managing your time as well, generating more leads, closing more sales, increasing the number of sales you have with each client, increasing your pricing. We'll talk about that a bit and help you understand how to do that and what a difference it makes. Exploding your profits. And if we have time, we'll go into a little bit of licensing and franchising and how you could do that with your business. So in goal setting, we've all heard of Stephen Covey and beginning with the end in mind, right? And that's what goal setting is beginning with that end in mind and working our way backwards. But we're in this process, although goal setting is the first area in your workbook, it's actually the thing you want to do after we do the other areas, okay? Because it's important for you to understand more about these 7 areas that we're going to talk about before you actually set those goals. So how many of you have heard of the 80-20 rule, right? 20% of what you do every day is generating 80% of your total annual revenue, right? So there's only a few things that you're doing daily that makes you most of your money. And after today, you're going to know what those few things are and know that that's where you need to spend your time. Now, we're going to talk about profit acceleration, and I want to share with you just along the way, I'm going to share little bits of testimonials, if you're okay with that, of how other people have benefited from what I'm going to teach you today. So this one is Alexis Muniz, and he said, Regina's been incredibly helpful in helping me think through areas of my business. Let me go ahead and just put this back on the screen so you can see it. Areas of my business where I could better increase my profits. Practical concepts that I can apply and start seeing results. That's what we want to give you today. Practical concepts that you can apply and start to see results. Been only a couple of days. I feel so much better about operating my business moving forward. Thank you. So, practical concepts. There are 5 areas, as I mentioned, 5 areas that make up the 20%. They are, again, more leads, converting those leads into clients, getting them to buy more frequently from you, having higher prices, and then more profits. And all it takes is small incremental changes to produce big results in these areas. So let me show you how that works. Let me bring up another screen here. Give me just 1 second. Whoops. Okay, present. Well, okay. Hang on 1 second, folks. All right, I think I had to get rid of that one before I could bring on the new one. Share screen, and I want this. All right, technology, ain't it grand? We love technology. As my friend says, we love it when it works and we love it when it doesn't. So this is a profit acceleration simulator. And I want to walk you through a little bit of this to show you how small incremental improvements can make a dramatic difference in your bottom line. So let's just, for grins, let's start with a smaller company that is making, say, 100,000 in annual revenue. So I'm going to pop that in here, 100,000 in annual revenue. And let's say they're a service-based company. So they don't have a lot of cost of goods sold. They have a pretty high gross profit margin, but I'm going to be ultra conservative and say they have an 85% margin there. And then we're going to put a 10% margin in here, and we're going to reflect this with the US dollar. So we can now choose anywhere from 1 to 10% improvement in each area. And now if I just make this a 1.4% improvement in these 12 areas, let me go back. Whoops, sorry about that, folks. I didn't have this one down here for you. All right, so our current profit is $10,000. If we look down here, current revenue is is 100,000. Our current profit is 10,000. If we move this up and we start to increase this, you can see here I'm going up to the 1.4%. My new annual profit is now $25,000. I've more than doubled my profit just by making a very minor impact in each of these 12 areas. So what if I made more than that? What if I were able to increase it by, say, 5%? There we go, 5%. Now I have 7 times my profit by increasing just 5% in these areas. Okay, let's look at a couple of other things real quickly before we leave here. What if I increase my my pricing, by 5%? I've now gone to an annual profit of 15,000. So I've made a 50% improvement in my profit just by increasing my prices by 5%. And so we can go through this. If I cut my cost by another 5%, now I've almost doubled. Just 5% in those 2 areas, I've almost doubled my profitability. So you begin to see how small, minor improvements make a difference in our profitability. Folks, we have 40 different areas that we can look at to determine where we can increase your revenue and your profitability. So you're looking at a list of only 12 there. We have 40. All right, so let me remove that from the stage and bring back up our other presentation as we need it. Okay, very good. All right, so think about your numbers now. If we put your numbers in there, I used 100,000. I used a service business with an 85% gross profit margin and a 10% net margin after all of their overhead. Do you know what your numbers are? Do you know what your gross profit margin is? And do you know what your net profit margin is after all of your overhead? A lot of business owners don't. And one of the critically important things in enhancing your profitability is that you have to know your numbers. And in terms of building that business that can run without you, knowing your numbers is another important element. Joe mentioned that a couple of times in his presentation about profit margins and those kinds of things. So you've got to know your numbers. We can take your numbers and run them through the simulator and see what those numbers would look like for you if you were to add 5% up to 10%. And honestly, the percentages that you can add are much larger. Okay. So let's dive into leads. Again, I want to give you just a quick little testimonial. A gentleman that I worked with recently, Scott Seidemann, he said, I'm not going to read this whole thing to you, but after our conversation, he said we created 8 action steps in direct response to what he learned from me. Without her, I'd still be bumping into walls. What we do works. That's the key point I want you to take away from that. What we do works. Now, the fundamentals of marketing that every business owner must know and follow is that 1, you've got to have something good to say. You need to say it well, and you need to say it often. So in terms of having something good to say, first, you need to be unique in the market. Joe talked about that a little bit. How are you different from other people in the market? If you are a business coach, let's say, and you have a website and you go out and look at other people's websites, are they pretty much the same as yours? Can they say the same things that you say in your website? If so, then you're not unique enough in the market. Being unique will make you 10 times more money than being better ever will. You've got to get that uniqueness down. And there's a research element to that. It's a journey. It's not something you create once and you're done. It is a journey that you create it, you tweak it, you work with it, live with it, tweak it some more, and it grows. But creating that uniqueness in the marketplace, which requires you to look at the market and say, what are others in my market doing? And what is the gap that they're not filling for clients? What are clients still needing? You see, there's an important element of marketing that you must know, and that is that there's a 2-part conversation going on in every prospect's head. The first part of this conversation is, I have a problem I don't want. And the second part is, I'm looking for a solution that I don't have. When you can fulfill those 2 needs, trust me, they will beat a path to your door because nobody else is doing that. And so researching your ideal client becomes extremely important to know what their pain point is. What is it that they're looking for? What solutions do they want that they can't find? And then you build your marketing around solving that problem for them. So then the secret to converting those leads is to create a compelling offer. Something that takes them to the next level. They've got this pain point, this itch they can't scratch, this problem they can't solve, that can't find a solution. Your offer needs to show them that you can take them to the next level in solving that problem, the next step that they need in solving that problem. And so it needs to be a very compelling offer, again, based on they have a pain, they have a problem that they can't find a solution to. If your offer shows that you have the solution, again, they will beat a path to your door. So there is a formula for saying it well, and it's called the conversion equation, and it's a 4-step process. The first step is to interrupt them. We live in a world today where we're scrolling through so many things, right? We're just scrolling all the time, through our emails, through our social media, all of that. And so you've got to have a message that interrupts people in their scrolling. Okay. Your message, whether you're doing organic marketing or paid marketing, your message needs to interrupt them in whatever they're doing. And you interrupt them by poking the bruise, if you will, by letting them know that you understand that pain point that they have. By, are you sick and tired of this? That kind of language can work to poke that bruise to say, oh, wait a minute. Yeah, I do have that problem. Your marketing needs to address that problem that they have that they don't want. The interrupt does that. The engage, which is part two, once they've been interrupted, they're going to give you a couple more seconds to see if you have that solution. You've told them you understand the problem. Now they're looking to see, do you have the solution? Your subheadline needs to be that engagement piece that says, yeah, I've got the solution. Okay. So we interrupt them by saying, I understand your problem. We engage them by saying, I have a solution. The third element is to educate them as to why you're different than everybody else out there, or why your solution is different than everyone else's out there. And then the fourth element is to create a compelling offer, an offer that they can't resist. It's the next step in solving their problem. So those are your 4 steps in saying it well. Now, saying it often, repetition is the key to successful marketing. But prospects today are saturated with marketing messages. We get over 3,000 marketing messages a day. Repetition allows you to cut through the clutter when you follow that conversion equation formula that we just went through. Interrupt, engage, educate, and offer. When you do that with repetition, it allows you to cut through that clutter. I'm going to share my PowerPoint with you again here. Most websites and the other marketing materials don't really have an offer on them. When we look at this website, and this is typical of websites out there, we see that we're looking for the offer on it. The offer is get a free retirement consultation. Here's my phone number. Call me. Contact me to set up an appointment. Here's my phone numbers again. And then the rest of the page is about me, the person who's got this website. If I don't know this person and I have no relationship with them, how likely am I to book that appointment for a consultation with them? Not very, right? Unless my pain is so intense, my pain point, I am not likely to do that. Here's another example. This one is for chiropractic. And again, it's pretty generic in terms of there's no offer. It's here's our address, here's our phone number, here's our staff, or here are just some basic things that we do. Okay, here's our staff. When you look at other people's, as I mentioned a moment ago, when you look at other people's websites in your arena, what's the difference between yours and theirs? Is yours saying anything differently than theirs is saying it? Is there an offer? Is there something that you're providing that nobody else is? Because here's the deal. Most people want to buy on value, but when they cannot differentiate the value between your business and the next person's, they're going to shop on price. You've just become a commodity. If you cannot differentiate yourself, you've become a commodity. And you have to be careful in the differentiation. Sometimes we see people differentiating based on, we've been in business 30 years. We're family owned. We give great customer service. So you have to ask the why wouldn't you question. There is a standard of customer expectation that you need to exceed. So if my website says we give great customer service, that customer is saying, well, why wouldn't you? That's the least I expect is great customer service. So what do you do that's over and above that? What do you do that's beyond that? Okay, so you have to think about that. How do you differentiate yourself? Here's one for a child psychologist who's, he specializes in all of these different areas: emotionally disturbed children, behavioral problems, blah, blah, blah. Call now to schedule a complimentary 30-minute session with me. And over here, his video says, I want to welcome you to Remarkable Parenting. You'll find tons of great information here with hundreds of pages of articles. Now, if I'm the parent of one of these special needs children here, and I'm struggling in one of these areas, how much do I want to go out and read hundreds of articles to find the solution to this problem that I have that I don't want? I don't want to do that, do I? And again, I don't know him. Why would I book that consultation with him without having some kind of relationship? Joe talked about relationship through all of his program, his part of the program. It's the same here in marketing. People want to have a relationship with you. So let's take a look at what we did for this child psychologist. We narrowed it down to one area that he was focusing on. And we went from a website to a landing page. So in a website, let me go back to the website. In a website, you have all of these different elements, right? All of these pages that you can go to. And what can happen is that your client, your prospect, can wind up here. They came here for a specific thing, but now they wind up going through all of these different things. And by the time they've finished it, they've forgotten why they came here in the first place, and they take no action. A landing page has one thing for you to do. It's not a website. It doesn't cover everything that you do. You could have separate landing pages for each of the things that you do. But this landing page highlights this screaming, belligerent child. Are you sick and tired of the yelling, screaming, and belligerent attitude of your child? If you have that problem in your home, would that title interrupt you and cause you to say, hey, he gets it. How can he help me? More so than the one on the previous page, parenting advice and resources, right? So your title needs to hit that pain point. Let them know you understand what that problem is that they don't want. So they're going to give you a couple more seconds. So here's our subtitle. Now you can discover the secrets to controlling your child and instantly restore peace and quiet in your home. Really? That's possible? We can have peace and quiet in our home? This parent is at their wits' end by the time they get here. They're looking for solutions. They're looking for help. They're looking at this and saying, oh, maybe this can help. So what's our offer? Our offer is to learn the secrets to gaining and maintaining complete control of your child in less than 60 seconds. Put in your name, put in your email. You don't have to pick up the phone and call me. You don't have to book a call and I'm going to call you back. Just put in your name and your email and I will send you the report. Big difference, right? Huge difference. And we redid his video over here. And I think my next slide shows his video script now. Says, as a parent, are you struggling to gain control of your child's attitude and emotions? Is your child yelling and screaming at you while often displaying a belligerent and sometimes threatening tone that no matter what you do or try, you just can't seem to get under control? Now he introduces himself. My name is Dr. John Smith, and I help parents like you every day learn the techniques that will solve these frustrating and destructive behavioral patterns once and for all. In fact, let me prove it to you. And then they apply for the free report. Now, I do want to share a couple of results that we had from this. The good doctor was averaging 300 leads per month. And about 10% of those, or 30 people, were calling to ask about the consultation. And he was converting the three people out of those 300, 10% of them he was converting. They would consent to the consultation and they became new patients. Now, this is typical of a 1% conversion rate, but this is on the old form. Watch what happened when we put in the new landing page, still with an average leads of 300 per month. Now he's doubled the amount of people that are requesting the offer. but we're still getting that 6%, 10% of them consent to the consultation. They all become 6 new patients. Average sale is $800. He's just increased his monthly income by $2,400, or almost $30,000 in his annual revenue increase. Can you see how that could work in your business? That if you have a converting offer on a landing page, not on your website, because see, on a landing page, there are only 2 things you can do. You can take advantage of the offer, or you can go away, period. That's it. That's your only options. You take advantage of it or you go away. And so it's much more efficient. All right. So think about your own numbers. How many responses are you getting? How many people are coming to your website, your visitors coming to your website or your landing page right now? And how many accept your offer? And how many new customers do you get from that? If you streamlined that message, if you had that conversion equation in place, and you had the process for getting that message out in front of people on a continual basis, what would that do to your bottom line? So if you have the workbook, I put the workbook in the comments, but if you have the workbook, I want you to go to the scale at the end of the chapter, and I want you to do 3 things. I want you to indicate, what is the relevance to this process in my business? Is this something I can implement in my business? On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 is not very relevant, 10 is very relevant. Where's the relevance? And then what is your current level of proficiency in utilizing this methodology? How proficient am I in getting these leads now? And what action steps do I need to take to improve that efficiency if this is relevant to you? Okay, so take just a moment and do that. While you're doing that, our next topic is going to be how to build your business fast using joint ventures. So what is a joint venture? A joint venture is what Joe and I are doing today. Okay. It involves 2 or more businesses that decide to form a strategic partnership to share their markets or endorse a specific product or service to their customer base, usually under some kind of a revenue share agreement. And the key to creating successful joint ventures is to find partners who service the exact same type of clients that you need or want, or who need what you need or want what you sell. Sorry, that didn't come out of my mouth very well. The exact same type of clients who need and want what you sell. But this partner sells something slightly different, or they serve a different aspect of what that ideal client needs. But you both serve the same ideal client. And so you create a joint venture. You come together to do that. I want to share just real quickly another testimonial, because it references this part. So this was a gentleman that I worked with some time ago, Andy Stone. He said he easily added 10K in monthly revenue by implementing the steps, and that's nowhere near the rewards a JV that I helped him set up have brought to his business. So again, we do have that expertise. We have that ability to help you create that. So I want you to think about, to give you a little more food for thought in terms of how you would set up joint ventures. Let me take a walk with you through an event chain. And we're going to use the wedding industry for our event chain. So typically when someone is getting married, several things happen, right? There's usually an engagement ring. And then they might involve a wedding planner. They might get the church or the chapel lined up, a reception venue. She's going to need a dress. He's going to need clothing. They need flowers for the wedding. They need a wedding cake. They may need a printer for the invitations. So all of these people form what we call the event chain. And we're going to take the role of the florist today. So we're kind of down in that chain. There's about 5 folks ahead of us and a couple of folks below us. So think about in that chain, everyone above you, from the jeweler to the wedding planner, the church, the reception venue, the wedding dress, or the shops that sell the clothing, they are all positioned to refer business to you. Every one of those people. You are in a good position to refer business to the people that come next on the list: the wedding cake provider, the printer, and there are others. There are so many others that can go into this wedding chain. So the way this works is that when they refer business to you, you now have a new client, right? And you're going to pay them a finder's fee, a referral fee, some kind of value for sending that new client to you. Okay. Could be 10%, could be more or less. But if you've got just one, let's assume for a moment that that the value of your services are $3,000. If you could obtain just one referral a month from each of those people above you, that one referral a month in this chain would bring an annual increase of $36,000 to you, less any fee that you pay them. Okay. Now, what about if you're referring to the baker and the printer? And let's say that their cost is still $3,000, just for sake of ease of math here, and that we have a 10% referral fee. Then just a single referral per month that you're giving them produces an extra $3,600 a month. Now, if the average sales price of the 3,000, let's go with that for the baker. Let's say the average sales price for the printing is $1,000 and you get 10% referral fee. That's an additional increase of $1,200 a year if you get one of those a month. Add it all up, that florist is now earning an additional $40,800 in annual revenue. That's one referral per month per people in the chain. Who are people that would be in the chain for you? Who could you joint venture with in an event chain where you all serve the same client, but in a different way? And could you set up one per month of those relationships? Now, we can help you set that up. We have the processes in place to help with that, because honestly, if you go about it wrong, you can shoot yourself in the foot. So you want to make sure that you're building the proper relationships, coming back to that word, that relationships with them, and structuring it in a way that it's a win-win-win. So turn to the page in your book on joint ventures, turn to that section, and again, write on the relevance to your business of this process on a scale of 0 or 1 to 10. How relevant is this to your business? What is your current level of proficiency on it? Again, scale of 1 to 10. And what action steps can you take coming out of this? Maybe it's to take a look and see who else is in this event chain. Do some research on it. How do I create an event chain? So you want to think about who serves my client before, during, and after I serve them. Who else is serving them? What do they need before, during, and after they need my services? And that will help you identify who could be good people to put in that chain. So in the wedding industry, that's easy, right? We can all relate to what that looks like in the wedding industry. But in your industry, what does that look like? What other services do your ideal clients need before they need your services, while they're taking advantage of your services, and after they've used your services? All right, so let's talk for a moment about conversions and how we convert leads into paying clients. And in your workbook, I've listed two ways: downselling and drip campaigns. So a downsell is when you offer a prospect an alternative lower price when they decline your original offer. I think we have all gone out to, clicked on an ad somewhere where somebody was selling something and we didn't want to take advantage of it. We said no. And then immediately another ad pops up saying, oh, well, how about this then? A lower priced product. So downselling is giving your prospect an alternative to a lower price when they decline your original offer. A drip campaign, on average, less than 3% of prospects are what we call now buyers. The 97% are not ready to purchase that day, but many of them will buy sometime in the future if you continue to nurture them by staying in touch on an ongoing basis. So let me go back to that for just one moment. Yeah, so we're going to deal with that in a little bit more detail in a moment. So what is downselling then? Let's go a little bit more on that. The goal is to turn the prospect into a client so that you can realize some short-term financial benefit, but you gain the opportunity to do business with them again in the future. So sometimes that downsell could be a free report of some kind that they have to opt in for. The purpose in that downselling is to get their information, get them into your world so that you can continue to work with them, continue to support them, and develop that client relationship with them. So an example, if you're struggling to put that into place, let's take a health club and they sell a 1-year gold membership program. And you're looking at signing up for that, but you're not too sure about that if you're ready to invest all of that. So they say, okay, well, that's fine. We get that, Regina. We have a 90-day health makeover membership as well. So they're downselling me from a year-long membership program to a 90-day program. They quote the price to me and I say, yeah, I'm still not too sure about that. Well, great. We have a 30-day or 1-week trial membership that's free. That's a downsell. I'm now coming into their health club and checking them out when I might not have before, because the only thing I thought I could access would be their 12-month membership, and I wasn't ready for that. So they've given me enough options in downsells to find something that meets my needs and get me into their world so that ultimately I will escalate in terms of their services and what I'm using in their services. Hope that makes sense. Here's another example. A florist sells a dozen roses for $60. Fella says, no, that's a bit too much. And he's ready to walk out the door. Well, what if you had another offer for him that you had a $30 offer instead of that $60 one? You had a lesser bouquet, less roses or a different type of flower, right? So now if they took advantage of that, just one of those a day would net an additional $9,500 annually. All right, so that's only one possible downsell opportunity. Suppose they had floral alternatives for weddings, lower priced options for funerals, and so forth. So think about in your business, what are some downsells that you can do? Okay, so again, thinking about that, let's turn to that page in your workbook. And how relevant is this to your business? On a scale of 1 to 10, how relevant would downselling be to your business? What's your level of proficiency? Again, on that scale of 1 to 10. And what action steps can you take right now? All right, so let's now move back into the drip campaign. We talked about a little bit about this a little earlier. Again, only 1 to 4 of your ideal clients are ready to buy today. But if you stay in contact with them, Nurturing them through a drip campaign, up to 70% or more ultimately may become your client. 80% of all sales occur between the 5th and the 12th point of contact between the business and the prospect. The challenge is many businesses don't do anything beyond the first or second contact. So the gains go to those who do. Those who actually continue the process are the ones who get the benefit of that. I want to show you a bit about the buyer's journey here. So this is showing what we're talking about here, that we have future buyers, soon to be buyers, and now buyers. And the folks on this end here, when they're just learning about your product or about you, it's like, why should I buy that? And then as they move along this journey, they learn more about you. If you're dripping on them, if you are dripping content on them, you are supplying them with continual information about you and your product. They become soon to buy buyers. Now they're looking at, well, why shouldn't I buy that? And then finally they get down here to this 1 to 4% or so. Who should I buy it from? Well, who do you think they're going to buy it from? They're going to buy it from the person who's been giving them the information all along and building that relationship. If that's you, you get the sale. If that's your competitor, they get the sale. So a drip campaign becomes super important for you. So, really key point here, though, is there's what we call tactical marketing. How many of you buy things in a buy one, get one free? Ever buy, a BOGO? Anybody ever not buy something like that? Those kinds of ads only appeal to the 3% of people who are ready, 3% or less of people that are ready to buy now. So your marketing has to cover more than come in today and buy this today. We've got a sale on today. We've discounted, which we're going to talk about discounting. We've discounted this today. Buy one, get one free. All of those things are only appealing to that minuscule portion of your market that are ready to buy today. And so you want to make sure that, yes, it has a place in marketing, but that should not be your go-to for your marketing. All right, so the drip campaign automatically delivers that communication to your customers or prospects on a predetermined and scheduled basis. Now, let's remove that again. So if you have, let's say, a brochure about your business, you could take elements from that brochure and chop it down into your drip campaign. So you could do a postcard campaign, let's say, where each postcard had one bit of information from the brochure about it and a call to action, something for them to do at the bottom of that postcard, right? Now I say postcard because what is the one thing that gets read when it goes in physical mail before anything else? A postcard. And if it's an oversized postcard, it gets read even faster. So, or sooner, I should say. So a postcard is a great way if you're going to do US mail. A postcard is a great way to do that. But you can also create that same campaign in social media, in emails. You can send it out in any way you want. Just break down that content into bite-sized elements that you give them one bite at a time. Now you are dripping that content onto them. And that drip campaign will bring great benefits for you. Okay, so again, write this in your workbook on a scale of 1 to 10. How important, how relevant is this to your business, having a drip campaign, keeping people aware of you and what you do, keeping them seeing you constantly, either in their email or on their social media or in their mailbox, that they see you everywhere and they get more information about you and what you do all the time. How relevant is that to your business? What's your level of proficiency? And then jot down any action steps that you are prepared to take on that. Next, we're going to talk about how we convince clients to buy more often. And there's a few ways that we do that. Chief among them are upselling and cross-selling. Those are two really great ways, upselling and cross-selling. 34% of prospects will buy additional products and services at the time of their original purchase if they are asked to do so. 34%, which leads to a 30% increase in profitability. So let's think about some ways that you could upsell or cross-sell. Let's think about a restaurant for a moment. So a restaurant, well, yeah, let's do the restaurant. Then I want to come back to something else. The restaurant could have appetizer or wine cart samples. They could have dessert cart samples. People get to taste it and then they want to buy it. So another thing is just to be clear on upsells and cross sells. Anybody here never been to a McDonald's? They are king at upsells and cross sells. Every time you go to a McDonald's, the upsell is, would you like to supersize that? Right? It's more of the same product. Would the cross sell is, would you like fries with that? Would you like an apple pie with that? It's a complementary piece to what you're already selling. So let's expand our vision just a little bit around this. One of the ways that you can do upsells and cross sells, if you don't have the products in your own line that you can do upsells and cross sells with, one of the things that you can do is joint venture with someone else. Someone like Joe and I, what we can do is that we can package each other's services into the packages that we have, right? But let's say for a moment that you're a landscaper. What additional services could you offer through that kind of a joint venture that would give you some things to cross-sell, right? What about tree trimming? As the landscaper, you may not be doing tree trimming. Decking, fencing, stonework, sprinkler systems, swimming pool installation, outdoor kitchens, outdoor lighting, patio installations. All of those, you could partner with somebody else who does that and make it a part of your package. Now you've got upsells and cross sells. Make sense? Hopefully so. You could easily negotiate a 10 to 20% affiliate fee from each of those providers and dramatically increase your annual revenue. So think about that. Who can you partner with? What do you have, first of all, in your business that you can use as an upsell or a cross sell? And then secondly, who could you partner with to create a package that you could upsell or cross sell? So again, if you'll go to that page in your workbook on upsells and cross, or on this section, what's the relevance to your business? What level of proficiency do you have? What action steps can you take? Okay. And then I want to say just a word about discounting and bundling for a moment. So bundling is grouping certain products to create packages so that you get to an apples to oranges impact, right? Or as my daughter says, apples to snapples. But it removes price from the equation, okay? So if I'm bundling products, I'm probably not bundling the same products as my competitor down the street. So you can't compare me to him because my package is different than his, right? And remember what I said earlier, customers shop value, not price. So can you convey your value proposition? Can you convey the value that's in this bundle for them, in this package? Because remember, if you can't, they're going to shop on price. Offer more value than your competition. Prospects will pay more if they believe the value is more. Discounts destroy your margin. Stop discounting. As of today, no more discounts. A 10% discount can cause you to have to sell 50% more just to break even. And we won't go through the numbers on that today, but trust me, if you discount just by 10%, you have to sell 50% more, or 50. You now need to sell 50. And let me go back. Let me go back. I'm going to give you the numbers. If you sell a widget for $100 and you have a 30% profit margin, you're making $30 for every sale that you make, right? Okay, 30% profit margin. If your cost, excuse me, if your cost basis for that widget, that whatever it is you're selling is $70, and you discount it 10% and now selling it for $90, your cost basis didn't change. It's still $70. Instead of making $30 per sale, you're now making $20 per sale just by discounting 10%. So to make $1,000 in profit selling those widgets at $100 each, you need to sell 33.3 widgets to get $1,000. But if you discount your price by 10%, you now need to sell 50 widgets to get that same $1,000. And when was the last time you saw just a 10% discount on something? It's usually 20 to 40%. Research shows that discounts have to be 40% or more to impact the buying decision. Every dollar that you give away in discounts, you lose the full value of that. So instead of discounting, innovate your business, offer more value than your competition. Okay, turn to the page in your workbook for this section. Write down the relevance to your business on a scale of 1 to 10 and your level of proficiency, and what action steps are you going to take. I'm very quickly going to dive into pricing. The reverse of that formula I just gave you to know that you needed to sell 50%. If you sell that same widget with that 30% profit margin, you make $30, right? Your cost basis is $70. If you increase your prices by 10% and sell it for $110, your cost basis is still $70, but you're now making $40 in profit instead of $30. So now you only need to sell 25 widgets. Okay. Now, a lot of people are fearful of raising their prices because they're afraid they're going to lose customers. And to be honest, you may lose some customers when you raise your prices. But the ones that you lose are the bargain seekers, are the ones that are the difficult clients to deal with. So, yes, do the math. In this scenario I just gave you, to break even by raising your prices, your business would have to lose 25% of its customers over that measly 10% price increase. And that just isn't going to happen, folks. Of course, always err on the side of caution, and always test your theory. Do it on a small group, okay? But there is simply no faster or easier way to generate additional revenue than raising your prices. And then the next thing is to get more profitability, also cut your costs. We don't have time to go into the full cut your costs today. Do turn to this page on raising your prices and rate it, the relevance to your business and your level of proficiency, and what action steps you're going to take. Remember that profits come from knowing your numbers. Audit your current suppliers and vendors, cut out the dead weight. There are lots of things that you can do, and I'm happy to share those with you at another time. There are lots of things that you can do to reduce your costs, and in that process, increase your bottom line. Every dollar of cost that you eliminate drops directly to the bottom line, because all your other costs have already been paid. Every dollar that is not directly related to the delivery of your product goes directly to the bottom line. All overhead. Eliminate some of that overhead. It all goes to the bottom line. All right, I'm going to bring Joe back on stage with me here.
Yeah.
Hey, Joe.
Thank you for having me. And like I said, I think there's two things that from your ending there that are very important. As I mentioned with the sorry, Regina, I just realized my mic was cut. Let's fix that. So I think there's two things that were very important of what you were saying there. The first being that, collaboration can happen in a lot of ways. That's how we actually first got met to each other, was through a podcast that was for collaboration.
Right.
An opportunity to talk to a lot of other people and get things and all the growth that can come out of that. And the second thing about cutting costs, I hit on that obviously in my relationship with your employees, but
Yes.
looking at different elements that you're doing well that are perks that have value. Everything you just said about the customer wanting to have value is true in the labor market. Whether
Yes.
it's the market of your
Yes.
product or the labor market, it's true everywhere. So making
Exactly.
yourself more valuable in cost efficient ways is, as you said, a dollar for dollar profit increase as you go about and doing this. It's something that's very powerful. So Regina, I think that there was a lot of value had here. I know that that just looking at my own personal LinkedIn page, we had a lot of people watching it on there. So we
Yay.
appreciate everyone who gave us your time today, even those who didn't submit questions, but feel free to do so again through our individual LinkedIn pages or DM us, whatever the case may be, because we are here to help and to help grow really your business, make your business desirable. This fear, as Regina said before, of turning a business off and closing the doors, in a lot of people is a massive failure that literally they don't survive.
Yeah.
And we want to help that from happening because there's so many other beneficial ripple effects that come out of that. Your employees stay hired, your customers getting served, you're healthier. It's a win for everyone. And
Absolutely.
I get it. It's scary. We're going to transform stuff. We're going to make changes. Well, you know what? The first time you were on top of a water slide, it was scary too. But you really love the process. Put yourself back in your 7-year-old version of yourself. Having that fear just means you're about to do something real and important. And
Yeah.
there's nothing more real important in the state of your business than having it survive.
Amen. Amen. Fantastic. So Joe, let's talk about what next steps are for folks here today.
Yeah, I mean, like I said in mine, you want to build up the relationships, and if you don't know how to do that, whether it be talking to myself or talking to one of my other companies that are my competitors, you want to learn how to build up relationships, particularly internally within your company, but also within your sales. If you're doing sales correctly, you mentioned it a couple times in the way you said about doing your drip campaigns. It's about building the relationship.
Amen.
you know, Part of the reason the statistic is only 3% are ready to buy now is because there's a trust barrier that needs to be broken and overcome.
Yeah.
And you can't do that just by lobbing over ad and discount over the fence. That's not how you build trust. It's how you devalue yourself, is what you
Right.
do. So you want to get to the spot, you build more trust. And I love how you gave your answers in your landing page. You were doing that explicitly when we were talking about the psychiatrist.
Right.
Did you ever say, I went to Harvard, I went to Yale, I went to
Yeah.
whatever? No, it
No.
was, I understand you, bro. Your life sucks because your kid's going crazy. You want that fixed? Here's how we can do it.
Here's how we can do it.
Um,
Yeah.
and that's the way that it is. That's
Yeah.
a trust barrier that you've taken care of there. That this guy
Right.
actually understands me. And quite frankly, being real and creating actual meaningful relationships is how you do this. And it's the skill set that most people are failing in. So I'm going to give another call to action. That's another free thing. Because as I said, I wasn't going to do anything in this that could relate to you getting charged for this. But in terms of all the relationship building I have a podcast specifically to that purpose. It's an audio only podcast. You get on Apple and Spotify and all the other places. It's called Father and Joe. Subscribe to that, check it out. And every single week, every Tuesday, get another little drip about how to become better at building relationships. And you do it for a year, your life will never be the same. It's worth
Awesome.
20 minutes a week, without a doubt.
Awesome. Love that, Joe. And as for me, folks, a couple of things. One is that if you would like me to run your numbers through that simulator that I have and put in your revenue, your profit, your gross profit margin and net profit margin and play with that, we can get on a call and bring that up and just play with that and see what's possible in your business. So I call it my possibility call. But also, so that that would be one thing. The other thing is that I'm putting in the comments my calendar for that so that you can book a call with me if you'd like to do that. Again, it's not a sale. There's no cost to do that. We'll just hop on a call. We'll do it on Zoom. We'll hop on a call and we'll put your numbers in there and I'll show you what that looks like. We only looked at 12 areas on that simulator, but we can look at up to 40. And so it's really powerful to see what's possible in your business.
Yeah, and the thing that I love about your thing, Regina, is that it's more than just an accounting trick of how you can do this. You actually have the knowledge behind it of, you exemplified some of it greatly here today, of how to actually get more leads in the door, how to actually convert them better. And these are all things every business needs to know. Again, if you want your business to survive, you need to be able to have it work without you, and you need to be able to make more money, as you got here with Regina. Sorry for my arms pointing the wrong way. The whole little mirror thing here threw me off.
Yes.
Nonetheless, we thank you all for watching, and we hope you got tremendous value from it. Please give us feedback, good, bad, or ugly.
Yes,
what you
please.
thought about this presentation, because like I said, if it made a difference to you, we're going to try it again. If we were just silent and it didn't really help, well, then that's good to know too.
Yeah, exactly. Awesome. Oh, and one other thing I wanted to mention, Joe, like you do the podcast, I do what you mentioned earlier, my collaboration conversations show. And so you can find that on my YouTube channel for Bridgeport Strategy. You can find that on my LinkedIn channel. And so I do them almost every day of the week. I do one of those, and we bring 5 or 6 people together and have a conversation about how collaboration works. And it's been such a fun thing to do. And like you said, that's where we met, Joe.
Absolutely.
In that. Yeah. So feel free to check that out too, folks. We appreciate you for joining us today, and hope you get value from this. Thank you so much.